Hey guys, how y'all doing? I'm here to give you guys a recap on a new chapter of Nanatsu no Taizai, or you can call it the 7 Deadly Sins, on chapter 224. This chapter right here was actually pretty shocking. I read it on the way when I was getting back from camp to home, but I remember reading like 3 images that are raw, but apparently after reading the translations and the full-on chapter, I'm pretty shocked and devastated. Like, I was like, whoa, dude, like, for real? That's beyond belief. And I've seen a lot of punishments, but this punishment might be beyond a little screwed up. Although one of them is reasonable, the other one I'm not so sure about. And I'll get to that in a moment. Meliodas starts off with the story saying it's been 3,000 years since the Holy War. But after what's been looking into the sins of Elizabeth and I, Meliodas says, we end up having to be punished severely for our actions. Meliodas' punishment because him taking the hand from the goddess clan and betraying his own comrades and killing them, although betraying your own comrades and killing them is an understandable consequence, but taking the hand of a goddess that's like your immortal enemy, I don't know about that, but if they have an understanding, it shouldn't be too bad. But, you know, I guess you could say that angels and demons don't get along. And as for Elizabeth's punishment for siding with a demon ally, which is Meliodas, and the sin of saving the enemy, even the 10 Commandments, her punishment was given as well. And King asked the question, who gave you the punishment? And who would do such a thing? And Meliodas explains that it's our gods. Of course, the Demon King, which is Meliodas' father, and the supreme deity of the goddess clan, which is Elizabeth's mother, which is later said in the chapter, etc. So, because of their power being overwhelming, which is to be expected because their power as being the leaders or the bosses of their entire clan, or being the god, if you want to say it, is to be expected. Even if you have the power to even take them on, I'm pretty sure it would be it would be suicide, because their strength has to be overwhelming. If not, then Aside from that, both of them get blown away and defeated, obviously, and both their lives were lost. As for Meliodas, of course, as he continues his backstory, he doesn't know how much time has passed, but he wakes up with no injuries and with Elizabeth dead at his side, and he screams in agony, mentally, if anything. Although Meliodas does not understand why he didn't age at all, but he figured it out later on. Eventually, he ends up meeting Elizabeth again, but one in the human savage tribe. And eventually, after sharing so many things together and talking about about certain stories. Of course, her transformation, she went under a right eye transformation, and her power awakened as a goddess, etc. But after talking about certain memories here and there, her transformation on her left eye began as well. Later on, she ends up saying that she remembers everything, and she ends up telling Meliodas that we have been cursed, and no matter what happens, and should I die again, you have to understand this, okay? You have to break this curse one day. Although Meliodas is worried and doesn't understand, he promises to break the curse, and she ends up explaining to him later, but it is explained after 3 days that Elizabeth died right before his eyes. We get to know that she explains to Meliodas that your father, the Demon King, and my mother, the Supreme Deity, placed this curse upon us, eternal life and perpetual reincarnation. He's not going to age, and even if he dies, he will be revived. But at the same time, we have to it that Elizabeth will continue her short lifespans as a human, and each time she will forget her memories. And of course, if by any chance, if she regains her memories, no matter how much you try to protect me, etc., I will die unavoidably and inevitably. So in other cases, if she regains all of her memories of her previous life, she will die of a natural cause no matter what after 3 days. And that isn't all. Every time I'm reborn, I shall inevitably meet and fall in love with you, and then inevitably lose my life before your eyes. And this gave Hawk and the other rest of the sins like a deadly shock factor. Of course, Merlin knew the whole time. Even Escanor, who's the sin of pride, is like pale. And Meliodas explains that it's been 3,000 years that's been like that, and I met Elizabeth 107 times, and now 106 times he ended up seeing her die in her final moments. I'm thinking in my mind, to go through that and to never die in age, and seeing Elizabeth like die, or your lover die in front of you many times, Meliodas understands that. Bond thinks Meliodas doesn't understand, but after Meliodas telling Bond about this, I'm pretty sure this is beyond belief and torture. Hawk himself like cried a river, honestly. As for Meliodas, he knows that no matter how many times this is happening, I can't get used to this. That's why he made a promise to release this suffering and curse no matter what, and break this curse. However, what makes to break this curse is actually pretty difficult, because Meliodas explains like in order to get rid of this curse, it will require someone of the power of the Demon King or the supreme deity of that power. And that person that I could hope for is possibly Zeldaris, who the Demon King lent his strength to. And on top of that, there's a prophecy involving the sins, like the revival of the 10 Commandments and the end of the 7 deadly sins, which really, really worries me, because like if the 10 Commandments gets revived, and should the 7 deadly sins fall and die, what's going to happen later? But we could get to that later in the future. Aside from that, that Meliodas apologizes to everyone that he ends up deceiving them on all of this. But Diane asks a really important question. If the curse is broken, what will happen to you and Elizabeth? And Diane was actually worried about that. And Meliodas turns around and says, then our eternal life and perpetual reincarnation will end. That is the goal of my journey. And therefore, realizing this became a devastating revelation, as Meliodas explains it. Even Diane is worried like hell. Hawk is crying a river because he does not want Meliodas to go or die, and I can understand that. Aside from that, Meliodas says, there's a lot of things I think you want to talk about here and there, etc. But he asked Diane a question right now, what do we need to do? And Diane explains that go to Conrad and destroy the dimensional distortion. He says, good, then let's focus just on the goal right in front of us. That's about it. And that's how he's moving forward. This kind of curse to be given, if I were in that position of Meliodas, I'm pretty sure I'll be mentally distraught. I will be screaming in mental agony and go like, why can't I freaking get out of this hellhole? I'm pretty sure I would be terribly beyond broken. And it's pretty obvious to the fact right there. Because I can understand Meliodas' punishment, etc. Betraying your comrades, etc., and killing them. There's no way in hell you're not going to get off of that, even for a good reason of love. Although love makes people do a lot of crazy things, and that is the fact. As for Elizabeth having to ally with the demon kind, and how am I supposed to say it? Saving the enemy of the 10 Commandments. Damn, I never thought the supreme deity would be that, how am I supposed to say it, cruel? But aside from major consequences, etc., to see both parents punish their own offspring in a certain way, I guess you could say I can understand certain punishments here and there, but eternal life and perpetual reincarnation without end, I don't know if I can even handle that myself. But aside from that, I guess like you could say like natural disaster fate, you can't get out of this cycle, you're gonna repeat it and repeat it and repeat it and repeat it and repeat it. I'm pretty sure I would have just like go like, why can't I just die? I'm pretty sure if I were in Meliodas' position of being cursed like that, I would be beyond like broken, because unable to die and you can't forget all those things and you're just forced to endure this for 3,000 years. 3,000 years! I don't even know if I can even take that amount. But Meliodas' only hope is possibly Zeldris himself, because he is given the power of the Demon King as his representative. But aside from that, another prophecy involved like revival of the 10 Commandments and the death or end of the 7 deadly sins. The only question is, like, after the deadly sins are dead and the 10 Commandments are revived, what is bound to happen to the entirety world of the giants, fairies, humans, etc.? I mean, like, we all know that they're pretty much powerless to even take on the Demon Clan alone. We all know that. But, yeah. You know, seeing this kind of curse upon Elizabeth and Meliodas and repeating it over and over, and it's been 107 times, and it's only been 106 times, but it's going to be the 107th time. It's gonna hurt. I'm pretty sure it will, and I don't know how Elizabeth is going to die, but I don't think Meliodas would be able to handle that. That's why he's trying to find a way how to like break this curse. But in order to break this curse, it has to be someone who has the equivalent power of the Demon King or the Supreme Deity. So I don't know how Meliodas is going to ask Zeldris to break this curse, because we all know Zeldris hates his brother because of his betrayal and killing his allies and comrades and sealing them away in a freaking like another dimension, etc. So I don't know how he's gonna ask him, but I'm pretty sure Zeldris won't be complying. And in terms of strength of Zeldris and Meliodas, I don't know which one of the two is stronger, but we will eventually see them clash. So until then, I'll see you guys in my next video. So I'm Alpha Zero, people. Have a good day. I'll see you guys next time. All right, peace out. Bye bye.